Hello everyone. We have with us today Miss Alefiya Bhatia. She is the co-founder and CEO of Crescerance, and she is passionate about making mobile an easy, available, and powerful channel to thousands of schools worldwide. So, a very warm welcome, Alefiya.
Thank you so much, Utkarsh. Happy to be here.
Same here. So now that I have also interacted with Namit, Alefiya, I know about Crescerance a little bit. But for those who don't know about your company, what would be your elevator pitch?
Sure. Crescerance is a company that is very much focused on helping schools and districts across the world leverage mobile and mobile technology in a lot of different ways. Crescer stands for or means to grow or expand, and that's what we're helping schools do through mobile. The way we started doing that about 3 years ago was through communications, creating custom mobile apps for schools, for them to have information, parents to have information right there in the palm of their hand. And what we've grown to over the last several months is also now teaching kids how to create mobile apps. So we're bringing the technology not just to the schools for the schools to leverage, but we're also now enabling kids to be creators of technology, not just consumers of it.
Definitely. So, like, basically, the problem that you're solving is not only for the students, but the whole school and all. So, just Alefia, just wanted to know what is the driving passion for this? Why are you passionate about this company, and what is your vision for this organization?
Sure, sure. So I'm very much a former educator myself, and I shouldn't say former. Once an educator, always an educator. I've spent several years in the classroom. I used to work with young ones, 3 to 6 year olds, for many years, and I loved it. It's always been something that I've been passionate about. I knew I always wanted to do something in education. After about 3, 4 years in the classroom, I realized that I was facing a problem that hundreds and thousands of teachers across the country were facing, which is just a lack of connection between parents and the education process. We were doing great things in the classroom. We were making strides. We were helping kids really see and become passionate about learning, not just content, but really truly understanding what it is to be a lifelong learner. But it seemed like parents weren't on the same page as us. They weren't understanding the process of education. And as educators, we know that it takes a village. It's not just the teacher's job. It's not just the principal's job. It really does take the support of the parents, the grandparents, the aunts and uncles, to really help and develop a child to be extremely successful in life. And so we wanted to figure out a way to really connect with our parents in a way that was natural to them. And that's where we came up with the idea of using mobile to really connect with our parents, and now using mobile to really connect with and engage our students. So as far as passion is concerned, when I was in college, I majored in education and psychology. I've always been somebody that's been very passionate about education, and we're turning that passion into a lot of different programs for our schools so we can really help schools on a macro level. I like to use the term edupreneur. As educators, we're almost always edupreneurs. We're creating new ways of doing things in the classroom, new ways of making education better. So we're mixing education with entrepreneurism and making some great things happen, hopefully.
Definitely, definitely. Actually, I was curious to know more about your teaching experience with the digital learners you talked about.
Sure, sure. So I taught, as I mentioned, I taught 3 to 6 year olds. I'm actually a Montessori trained teacher. I am AMI certified, and so when I was a child, I went to Montessori school, and then I learned how to become a Montessori teacher, and I taught Montessori schools, and was an administrator for several years. So you learn so much from the youngest kids that have the best ideas, and they're fearless. They are not scared to share their ideas and to figure out how to solve problems, and that's very, very inspiring to me personally. I love working with our youngest kids because they don't yet have the box around them. They're still open and free and fearless, and I think that that's how we all need to be, and that's how we need to teach our kids how to be forever. But
Sure,
it's not easy to do.
surely. And another thing that I've noticed actually that the tech community in the US is pretty strong. I'm sure you would agree. And it's a strong network, and tech entrepreneurs are happy about reaching out to each other and supporting each other. So, which
Absolutely.
communities or networks have helped you reach out to similar entrepreneurs, or so I call edupreneurs?
Absolutely, absolutely. It is a phenomenal community. I think education across the world is a very rare industry in that people genuinely, genuinely care and genuinely want to do good in the world. You may not find that in most other industries. A lot of times it's about the money. If you're in education, you know it's not about the money because there isn't much. So, so if you're in education, you're generally you really care about making a difference, and it's been so wonderful to meet other folks that are really trying to do good things in the world. We've been so fortunate to develop a great network of educators, of edupreneurs, of ed tech companies that we take inspiration from. Twitter has been a phenomenal resource for us. Educators are all over Twitter, and if you're an educator and you're not on Twitter yet, please get on Twitter.
Sure.
It's a very, very good resource of information. We learn, we meet each other, and we actually, even though you meet online on Twitter, you meet at an event in person, and you put a face to a name. Just this past week, our team was at 3 different conferences. We were at a conference in Texas, in Arkansas, and here in Atlanta, and we met live so many people that we had met online, and were able to form those connections. So Twitter has been a great one in terms of doing that, and continue to use that heavily.
Great. I am sure that would be great learning from others to know, actually. So Alefia, tell us about your team and who do you have supporting you? How did this actually start?
Sure, sure. So my partner is Bhatia, and he also happens to be my husband. So he's my business partner as well as my life partner. But he is the technology mind of our company. He's had 15 years experience creating very large products in the financial services space. So he has had a lot of experience creating products, creating really great technologies, and he is the technology mind, bringing in all of his expertise in terms of here's the problems in education and here's how we can fix them. And I'm very much the education mind of our company, and here's what we need to do from an education perspective. So we have a team of about 35 people now, spread very heavily across the world. Several of us are here in the United States, in Nebraska, Philadelphia, St. Louis. We have Wichita, Kansas. We have here in Atlanta. And then part of our development team is here in Atlanta, and part of it is in New Delhi, in India. Yep.
Great. So how has the journey been so far? Like, what has been the response for Crescerance in the US and other parts of the world?
It's been a great journey, Utkarsh. It has been such a phenomenal learning experience. Myself, just not having any sort of a technical background, I don't know how to code, I don't know how to program, but we started this company 3 years ago, and we've learned so much in the process. Really, truly understanding who our schools are and what they need. It's not about creating a product and going and selling it to a school. It's really about figuring out what the problems are that our schools are facing, and if there's something that we can do in one way or another to help solve those problems. And that's what we're passionate about. Almost half the folks on our team are also educators, so we are very familiar with how schools work, how our students work, what our students and teachers need. We have a former principal on our team, a former head of, former science teacher. We have a former art teacher. Several folks that we have just really, really brought together to enhance our understanding of our schools. So it's been a phenomenal journey. We've grown substantially over the last few years, and one of the things that we're looking at when we're creating this new program called MadLearn, it's really a program that's helping use the concepts of coding and the concepts of programming to actually develop skills, real world skills that are critical for any kid, any student, any person in the workforce. Those are really almost mirrored on my experiences. I had zero, as I mentioned, zero experience with product development, zero experience with technology, and there's so much that I've learned over the last few years, and those are some of the things that we want to help our kids start to experience very, very early on. What's the problem? How can you think about a product goal and work backwards to design technology and create technology? So we talk about app development equals skills development, and that's really what we're trying to do.
So, like, what's the excitement level been with the students in the Mad Learn program?
Oh, it's been phenomenal, Utkarsh. We have kids starting as early as the third grade all the way up through high school that are creating apps. And many of them have apps on the App Store. You can actually go download several of them. There's an app that a fifth grade girl created that has been downloaded by 50,000 people worldwide. So it's phenomenal to see the excitement. They're proud of their work. They're excited to share it, and of course brag about it. But more importantly, really look at, we have teachers telling us all the time that, we thought this was going to be kind of a coding program. We thought there were, it would only interest the techie kids that were really interested in technology. But this interested every single one of our students. And students that didn't even think they could do it are now doing this and making apps and learning so much from it. And I had a girl that was making an app on, for example, the Roman Empire. And she didn't care about history. She didn't want to learn about the Roman Empire, but that was something that she did. And she learned all about the Roman Empire in the process. She learned how to write well. She learned how to, of course, create technology and create this app. But she also learned a lot of other skills and a lot of other core subjects in the process. So that's what's been very exciting for us to see.
It's great to hear. Actually, I'm visualizing the kids learning in the process.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of that learning, we actually had a ninth grader in Nebraska at one of our schools in Nebraska who created an app that was about his local community. It was, about his town. So it had restaurants and parks and recreation, history of the town. It was essentially a visitor's guide to his town. He went to the Chamber of Commerce and he said, "You need to purchase this," and they did. And so it's an app on the App Store, and it's live for people to download. And then he proceeded to, because he was extremely entrepreneurial, he proceeded to go to restaurants and sell them ads in the app that he created. So we're definitely excited about the entrepreneurialism that is being generated through things like this.
Great to know that, actually. And Alefiya, like, we have talked about the success part, but I'm sure you must have faced a lot of challenges. So what are the biggest challenges for an edtech startup?
Absolutely, that's a really good question. I think the biggest challenge is understanding focus. There's so many things that we want to do and are excited about doing and can potentially do, but it's hard to do any one thing well unless you focus on it. So for us, it's really been honing down, really understanding who we are and what we're doing, and bringing that focus to a particular program, a particular aspect of a school and of the education process. We did have a very, very big pivot in terms of, we started off with purely working with the school level, sort of, here's a communications department that we're working with, and we're creating an app for the school. About 6-7 months ago when we launched MadLearn, we had a very big pivot in terms of bringing that technology and bringing that curriculum to the classroom and to students. So pivots are essential, I'd say, from a learning perspective. Two things that I would say are critical. One is be okay with pivoting and changing, because you have to know the market, you have to listen to what's needed and change accordingly. And two, ensure that you can focus, because it's only when you do bring true focus to something that you can make it something that's successful.
Definitely, definitely. I think any edtech founder would agree on that, I'm sure. So, Alefa, what actually, or I may ask, who motivates you? Any thought leader or company with innovation that you for success?
Say that again, of course, you broke off for me.
Yeah, I said that basically, who motivates you? Any thought leader or companies with innovation which you follow for success?
Sure, sure. Most of the folks that I truly look to as inspiration are fellow educators and folks such as Angela Myers, Sir Ken Robinson, phenomenal keynote speakers, Eric Scheniger. They're truly passionate about the work that they do in their schools every single day. And those are the kinds of folks that I watch, I go to, I listen to in person, talk to on the phone, get advice from. They're truly phenomenal leaders in their own respective places, and of course there's business leaders and there's company leaders as well that we look to. But given that we're an education company, we do focus heavily on other educators and what they're doing, and there's just phenomenal leaders with phenomenal voices out there. Just this past week, I was mentioning we're at a conference here in Atlanta. One of my close friends and keynote speaker was here for this conference. Her name is Angela Myers, and she talks about needing to be brave and to take a risk and to be uncomfortable, because only when you do that can you truly grow and truly move forward and truly make a difference. And those are the kinds of messages that we look to, and we try to hold true to our hearts, and also help our students learn. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to not know what you're doing, because that's when you truly learn and grow.
Great. The name mentioned are actually inspiration for many more, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So just a last question, Alefiya, like, what are your views about the growth of edtech industry? Because you mentioned focus as well. So there's a lot happening in the edtech space. So what are your views about the growth?
It is. It's a huge space, Utkarsh. It's growing exponentially. It was huge 5 years ago. It's even bigger now. When we look at charts in terms of future jobs that are going to be available, it's phenomenally huge when you look at technology and programming and coding. And so from that perspective, we're really excited about being here at this pivotal time where, folks like President Obama are saying, don't just play on your phone, program it. And those are the kinds of things that we've been really excited to hear from leaders across the world. I know the UK just instituted a curriculum, computer science curriculum, that's mandatory from the 3rd grade up, I believe. And so we're seeing those changes, heavily across the world, just purely in terms of bringing technology into the classroom, not just in the hands of the kids, but actually enabling them to be coders and be programmers themselves. So when we talk about ed tech, I think of course it's what are technology tools that education needs and that schools and students need, but now it's also shifting to what are the kinds of programs that exist that are enabling students to be the ones creating this technology. And that's where, I think we're sitting at a very interesting place. We've been hearing excellent feedback from schools, teachers, superintendents across the country. And so from an ed tech in general perspective, I think it's changing substantially. We're starting to flip the idea of just having a device and using a device to making it your own and making it on your own. I mean, we talk about maker spaces and tinkering. There's a whole wave of energy that you can almost sense and feel of people wanting to be the ones making and not just consuming. And that's very exciting. I think it's going to have a lot of interesting implications on the ed tech industry in general. We're going to see a lot of phenomenal innovations that come from students across the world. Just yesterday, I met a 17-year-old student at a school here in Atlanta, or not in Atlanta, but he has created an app that's a school spirit app. And he was here with his dad, and he started this company about his app. And we're going to see more and more things like that. I think the innovations of tomorrow are going to start and come from our kids of today.
Definitely. I think the words that you say are actually implemented by you as well. That is why the Madeline program has come into being. I just love talking to passionate educators like you, and thank you so much for joining, Alefiya.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, Utkarsh, and thanks again for giving us a call. We're happy to share, and let us know if there's any other questions or any other things that we can help with.
Yes, for sure, Alefiya. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care.